Hello, welcome. My name's Gareth Withers. You may be unfortunate enough to have heard my crazy songs about Cov City. But today I'm not going to be singing. I've got the piano behind me. We're not going to be singing today. I'm going to be talking to some fantastic guests I've got online who, like me, are Cov City crazy. We thought we'd get together and review the season. So I've got Glenn Watkin, who actually sits in front of me at the Ricoh Arena. I've got Andy Morgan as well, and I've also got Ken Stewart, Glenn and Ken from Sky Blue Fans TV. Well, I've got the mug behind me, which is good. I've got the pair of mugs they gave me very kindly. From my personal point of view, it's been an amazing season. I just think in terms, for me, the success story has been bums on seats, because I think after COVID, the important thing was we got people back in the stadium and finally seeing the Ricoh start to fill up. And I think Robbins has done exactly that. He's got people interested in coming back. He's got people who probably were stayaways for quite a long time to come back in and enjoy football. And he's playing a football that makes us excited and gets us on the edge of our seats. So for me, it's been a success story. Andy, what do you want to kick off with in terms of your thoughts so far? Well, for the season that's gone.
I think probably the same as everyone. It's been a really good season. For me, it's been good, but I think we missed a trick. If I'm ultimately brutally honest, I think we had every chance of making the playoffs and ran out of steam. I think we didn't have enough bodies to cover fatigue and injuries and the odd suspension here and there. And it's frustrating because hopefully we'll build again for next season. But if we don't build again, then it's going to highlight just what we missed out on this season, I think.
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because I think success from the start of the season, you just felt the energy was right. But because it felt like we were fourth place for quite a while, actually, didn't it? And in the back of your head, you were thinking, surely not. You kind of felt that at some point we'd dip down. But it's interesting because when you do dip down, you suddenly get that sense of, that's a shame. And I think more to the point, because we were a lot of the time playing teams off the park, there's only a few games I could think that we were absolutely outplayed. And I agree, there's that kind of element of finishing mid-table, which before the season, I think we would have taken. But from where we were, it did, perhaps a little bit disappointing. What do you reckon, Glenn?
Yeah, I've said it a few times. It's just, if only there was too many games where you look back on and think we threw points away. Derby at home was the classic one. We went from destroying Fulham to Derby having one shot on target and nearly beating us at home, and then we never really recovered home form wise. We kind of stumbled a bit almost for the rest of the season with the odd winning here and there. But yeah, it's a real good season because there's so many moments where you look back on and think really enjoyed that. I obviously remember grabbing hold of you when Tavares scored against Preston and just went mad. It's still surreal.
What a moment. Yeah. And actually, things like that matter, don't they? You know, those last-minute goals, and I think we had the most in the end, didn't we? Just ahead of Forest, is that right?
Yeah.
In terms of last-minute goals, but to have, injury time goals, to have that again, I think that just gave us a sense of what the team's all about, the character of the side, which Callum O'Hare leads, I suppose, because obviously he's still playing like it's the first minute when it's the 99th, which is insane, to have the energy he does. But yeah, I remember that grab. That was hilarious, Glenn. In fact, it reminded me of when I was at Wembley when George Thomas scored that ridiculous goal. And I think I charged down about God knows how many rows. But good moments. But I agree, Glenn. I think it's that tinge of disappointment, isn't it? Where we did have a number of those games. You think back to the Hull City at home with that ridiculous, which surely was over the line, by the way. When it hit his back,
I think still say it's over the line.
Yeah. Well, it seemed to be to me, and Luton Town, which was a kick in the teeth, because I thought obviously away, Luton Town blew us away. That's fine, you accept that. But at home again, we were the better side. You could see their manager was getting frustrated. He thought this isn't going the way it should, and still you lose it. And again, I think it's a learning curve, but as Andy pointed out, it's praying that we get another opportunity to do that again. We don't want to lose too many of those players. What do you reckon, Ken?
Yeah, I agree, really. I agree what everybody said so far. I mean, there's so many games we can look back on that we threw away. Millwall's another one, isn't it? At home. Frustrating. They're the sort of teams you've got to beat and you got that impression if you don't beat them, you're always going to fall short. And I thought at one stage, yeah, we're going to do it, and then you look at the fixtures and you think, oh, we've got quite an easy run of fixtures, and then we had all these teams sort of below us, and then we were struggling, a lot of the Millwalls and stuff. And we were beating the top teams like the Sheffield United and your Fulham. Yet we were struggling against teams we should have really blew away if you look at it on paper. But of course, football's never like that, is it? And it's down to on the day. And
no, it was funny. There was that stage of the season where I think all of us had just accepted, right, it's fine, it's over, that's okay, let's just enjoy it. And then we went and beat Sheffield United and then beat Fulham, and then the Birmingham ridiculous comeback, and you start to think, it's the hope that kills you, isn't it?
Yeah, and then so it was disappointing to lose out in the end. We just fell a little bit short in the end. You can look at injuries as well. I suppose Matty Godden, he missed most of the season. I think if he was fully fit throughout the season, he would have scored 20 goals, I think, without a doubt. And 20 goals, how many points is that worth? That's a lot more points, and we could have been up there, couldn't we? So you can look back at several things, really. But overall, it's got to be a successful season, really. We've got to be positive and think, well, we've got to look for next season and look to improve again and hopefully be up there again. I don't see any reason why we can't. If we keep the players that we've got and we don't lose any.
I think the team. The key thing is the team we've got are creating the chances, and this is the brilliant thing. Where you worry is if you don't create the chances, and you never create. And we've been there. Oh my God, we've been there when we've seen sides who just pass sideways, backwards. They don't know what to do. You can just see they're kind of imploding inside their brain. They don't have a clue what to do. With Robins, there's none of that. It's forward thinking, led by Hamer, of course, with the fact that he's constantly positive, sometimes too positive, trying passes that aren't there. But he's really positive thinking. But you mentioned goals, and that's the key thing. And it'd be interesting what Andy says, actually, because you mentioned Godden. Goals are so important. Gyökeres, I think personally probably could have even doubled the amount he had. He certainly missed a good deal of chances. A lot of the time, don't get me wrong, he created. But I think back to the Cardiff City away, which that header should have been in. I mean, it shouldn't have been anywhere near the goalie. And so there were moments where you think, like you say, if Godden was fit, he would have put those chances away. What do you reckon, Andy?
Absolutely agree. Godden is probably the most natural finisher at the club. I think we gain a lot from Gyökeres, his work rate, the way he holds up the ball. I mean, the Middlesbrough fans are still going mad over him now from the performance he put in at their place. He bossed their back line, held everything up for us. And to be fair, it's probably his best performance of the season, I think, or certainly one of his top 2 or 3. But finishing, he does, whether he snatches out them or what, I don't know. Whereas Godden's just got that little bit of composure in the box. A bit like the old Michael Owens, and that you don't teach it; it's just instinct, isn't it?
That's really true, actually. That's a really good point. And Gyökeres, there was I think the moment I realised, and I was lucky enough to be at Blackpool away, and that's when I realised how good he was. And you thought, oh, actually, this guy's got potential, because I hadn't really seen it, had we, during COVID? Obviously, because we haven't been in the stadium, but you kind of saw bits. But that performance at Blackpool was just incredible.
Sorry. I remember when we signed him, sort of seeing the signing being done and thinking, yeah, okay, we had him on loan last year. He was all right. He didn't pull up any trees. And you kind of thought, I wouldn't have been upset if we had not gone back and re-signed him. But clearly Robbins knows his onions and knew what he was going to get from him, because I don't think any of us expected him to have the season that he had when we re-signed him, if I'm honest. I certainly didn't see that. I don't know about the rest of the guys.
I'll tell you what, we'll bring in another one, because he's appeared. Here he is. Mr. Mark Smith is in the building, everyone. It's good to see you. Mark, we're reviewing, but we're also talking about strikers. We're talking about goals that, we did get plenty of, but we could have had a hell of a lot more. You probably agree. Just your thoughts on, obviously, the season as a whole, what you felt.
I think at the start of last season, I think you'd have taken mid-table after sort of, finishing the season before around 16th place. And we started the season really well. Our home record was fantastic. We picked up the odd win away from home as well. I think at the turn of the year, we didn't probably perform as well as we could have done. But overall, mid-table finish was a good season for us. I think what we need to improve on for next season is getting more goals from not just the strikers, but from the midfield as well. We didn't get enough goals from midfield. We need to take more of our chances. But I think there's a lot more positives going into next season. And, I think the summer ahead, it's going to be interesting to see what business occurs, who goes, who comes in. I feel that if we are going to improve and push into those playoff spots, it might be that we have to sell, a Gyökeres, a Hamer, possibly, hopefully not both of them, but one of them maybe for a decent fee, to bring in some players to strengthen. Certainly left side for me. I think it'd be nice to get someone like Jake Clark-Salter back in as a permanent signing. I think he'd be a good starting point. So the fellow from Bristol City, I can't remember his name, but I think we've been linked with him. So that's
Palmer.
Casey Palmer.
Casey Palmer, that's right. Yeah, sorry about that. I think I've not seen a lot of him in fairness, but obviously Robbins knows more than what I do. I think he'll be more of an attacking midfielder position, so I think that gives Robbins that option of playing that one up front with the two kind of number 10s in the supporting role. Yeah. So I can see that one. Personally, I think left back is an area of concern for me. Obviously, Matsson's, I don't think will be playing for us this season. So that's another area we need to strengthen. Jake Clark-Salter for me would be one, but we need another left back for me.
Mark mentioned, Glenn, and this is important to me. We kind of automatically think, don't we, when we have this run at the start of the season, in our heads, because we're Coventry City and we're pessimists, we automatically are thinking there's going to be a dip, and there always is. So what Glenn, can we do to think actually keep playing without that dip happening like Christmas time or just after?
Basically, not inflict self-inflicted wounds, i.e. Dabo getting sent off in the 90th minute for slamming into a Cardiff City player and getting a 3-game ban when we didn't need him to. And then obviously you've got the Godden situation, and probably just being a bit streetwise with games that we're losing. Don't flog people into the ground. Obviously, maybe with 5 subs this season, if we are 2 or 3-0 down against a Watford or whatever, we just pull off the key players and give them a rest and take the hit. Whereas I think we can't have Callum O'Hare playing. He's not going to play 40-odd games next season again for us. It's very, very unlikely that he's not going to get injured. And we got away with it really with Vic not getting injured this season. It wouldn't surprise me with him out of football. Obviously, he's played tonight and he's scored. So he's got another game as well, I think, for Sweden. So that's 4 games extra he's been involved in. So he's going to be late coming back to pre-season. And I just think it's probably just maybe give some of the younger talent a chance. I think maybe there was a case like Cardiff away when we had Hamer out. Maybe it was a time to give a Howley a game rather than go Allen and Sheaf that didn't really work on it. So it's we're always going to cough it up. I'm the most pessimistic one, and then we throw in performances like Southampton away where we should have got something there. Really, we were by far the better side and lost to 2 worldies.
Yeah,
but then we have other games where we're absolutely abject and we're really, really.
And you know what? You've just brought up a perfect point. Southampton away, because who was on the right side? Southampton away wasn't Dabo, wasn't Kane, it was Eccles, wasn't it? And had a really good game. And you just mentioned there that actually, if you bring in some of these players, Robbins knows what he's doing a lot of the time, but sometimes, yeah, you're right. If those players get a chance, he was superb away at Southampton. That first half, we blew them away. And if Maatsen had drilled that one in the corner, which he should have, we could have been 2-0 up and actually would have deserved it. And Southampton would have agreed with that. So it does show that actually you can put your faith in these players. It was a shame because Eccles got injured right at the end, didn't he, of the season?
Yeah, he's done his hamstring. I think he's out because my dad knows his uncle. He's out until probably just the last couple of weeks of pre-season. But he's one definitely to look at. There's Jack Burrows, who plays a lot for Scotland at youth level. Howley's really highly. But I mean, I've seen a few of the under-23 games, and they've looked like they've got some potential in there. I don't think they're going to be week in, week out starters, but they've got people who could maybe do an impact like Tavares done, like Papaga. He's got pace. he's been scoring a few goals from the 23s. I think you've just got to be a bit brave and take a risk on it. If we're not going to have 20 odd players who are championship level performers, we haven't got the budget to do that.
No,
So
that's it.
You've got to filter in, and we've shifted a lot of the dead wood on. You've got to maybe give the Josh Reeds and a few of the others a chance to step up.
And the key thing, I think, and Ken, we'll see what you think about this. What Robins has done and does really well is he kind of generates that throughout the whole of the club. So you sense the way he plays his football goes into the under-23s, goes into the under-18s, I imagine, as well. And so you sense when those players come in, it's not like they're coming in blind. They know exactly how the game works.
Yeah, exactly. And I think AD Vivas has got to take a lot of credit for that as well, because he's been massive on the training pitch and looking after the players, if you like. I think he does a lot of work and behind the scenes, obviously, we don't see. I think he's a big plus for us, AD Vivas. I mean, his knowledge, and obviously he's come from Chelsea, he's come from a Premier League club. He knows a lot of the players that he's brought in previously. And I think they just work perfectly, him and Robins. If I did have a criticism of Robins, I mean, I love Robins. I just felt last year he probably didn't use his substitutes as much as he should have. I mean, I know we've got more subs this year. I'm not going to say he's going to probably take advantage of that. He might not use them at all, but there was occasions on a few games maybe where we're looking for a change and it didn't happen, and he didn't use all the subs. And perhaps, that was the case for maybe Jody Jones. He didn't sort of get many run-outs when it was a chance for him to have a bit more of a run-out, and he never really got a chance. So
I think Robins was perhaps trying to embody John Sillett a little bit too much. Do you feel like, the substitutions after 87 minutes?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah, that's my only criticism sometimes. I thought, well, come on, we're crying out for a change here. And he didn't happen. But, he did make some changes. He made a couple of good changes with Tavares. Tavares come on and scored that goal, even though it was very late, when he did come on. I would like to see Tavares. He probably should have come on a little bit earlier, to be honest. We might have won that game. But, that was my only criticism over the season. I think there was a few games where maybe he could have made subs a bit earlier.
I think, and Glenn mentioned the Tavares goal earlier and what it made. Mark, what do you reckon when it comes to Tavares? It's a funny one, isn't it? Because when a kid, and he is a kid, is scoring that many goals, Robins was really, really cautious. And I wonder, why do you think that was? Maybe he just doesn't feel he's ready. But obviously, if he's a natural goal scorer, and we've talked about how important that is, then surely he should be given more minutes.
Yeah. I mean, Robins knows him better than what you or I do. It's a difficult one. I personally would have liked to have seen him play, add more minutes. I guess he's only, 18, 19 years old. So I think, I don't know if it's just a case of he just wants to wrap him cotton wool a little bit and not, throw him into the lion's den too quickly. I'm hoping that he might get more minutes this season, though. He gets another year older, get a bit stronger, improve his physicality. But I like to think that this season, he'll feature more and be pushing for a starting place, in my opinion. But it'd be interesting to see what business does, what happens if, for example, Gyökeres goes and all that. So yeah, it's an interesting one. But I think he's certainly showing glimpses that he can be a real asset for us. And I think. I really look forward to seeing what he can do for us this season.
I'm going to bring Andy in because I often say that for a few years I've thought the one thing we lack up front is complete pace, and I can't remember seeing it since Adam Armstrong. And he's like the one guy that I felt if he was up front for us now, we'd be the finished article, because you'd have this wonderful passing, you'd have this movement, but you'd also have pace and just a natural finisher up front. Of course, he hasn't pulled it off at Southampton, so I'm desperate we could get him back. But what do you reckon, Andy, strikers-wise?
In it, they say, Armstrong. But no, he was quality when we had him. I don't know. I think the key to it is whether we keep Gyökeres, isn't it, really? Because if we keep him and we've got Godden fit, we've got other areas of the pitch, I think, that we need to strengthen. We have got goals. At the start of this, we sat there and said if Godden has played more minutes, he would have got 20 goals. So there's more goals in the side. if we can keep players fit. Obviously, if Godden's injured again, then it does raise the question: do we look to get somebody else in? But yeah, I think for now there's other areas for me that we do need to invest in and get goals from all over the pitch, because that's something we do lack. So
yeah, and Mark was right to point that out, wasn't he? The midfield, we just seen, if you watch Lampard of old, I know it's Frank Lampard, but if he was 30 yards out, he'd shoot.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, if he saw that sniff of goal, he'd just ping it. And okay, he had a cracking shot on him, but our guys have. Hamer can certainly hit a ball. And you're right, we don't score enough from the midfield.
Hamer does that, doesn't he? He lines it up as if he's going to hit it, and he's got the ability, and then he'll drop his shoulder and slip it through, and the defender will read it, and it's like, sometimes you just pull the trigger, have a go.
You just never know, dude. I know. And it's hilarious, isn't it? You watch him in training, pinging these balls into the top corner. Even Davo, when they get near the chance, they just don't do it.
Have you seen Jody Jones on Instagram pinging them in from all over the place? And it's like, yeah, obviously we won't have him next season, but he can certainly finish from distance.
So what do you reckon, Glenn? That's what we're missing, isn't it? Something from midfield in terms of goals.
Yeah. If you look at the season that we got out of League One, you had Westbrook who got goals. You had Shipley who got goals. You had Walsh who scored a lot of good goals for us, and you had O'Hare who actually scored goals for us, which he seems to be got out to do now. But yeah, and that's the thing you need. And I mean, Sheaf has added goals into his game. He's obviously scored the 2 at Blues. But Allen doesn't get enough for what he should, really. O'Hare should do better. And we've moved Jones and Shipley on, so there is a massive gap in that option. And maybe that is where Eccles can help us by either playing in midfield or playing in right wing back. But yeah, I'd hope that Palmer, if he comes in, will give us a bit of quality on the ball and passing, and also will give us a bit of a goal threat, and he'll give a bit of competition for O'Hare, which we haven't had. And I think getting someone in who's got proven championship experience and has got out the league is a good signing, and he's on a free, and that's really probably the market we're going to be. It's frees and loans, unless we get silly money for Hamer, O'Hare or Gyökeres. And I agree, I don't really want to move Gyök on, but I think he will go, because I think there's Premier League teams who will take a punt on him because he can play the lone striker role that well, and that's the role a lot of Premier League teams play now. I just don't want him to go to Borough, because that'd just drive me up the wall. And any player
so wrong.
Any player that makes a sideward move, to me, I just don't see the benefit on it at all, really. I think he's better than that, and I just think, why would you go there? And they probably will be up there next season because Wilder's that good, but I don't want to see him playing against us in the Championship next season, because I'll have to boo the guy, and I actually generally really like him. He's gone from for the turnaround he's done in the period of time he's had, he's gone from someone who was a bit of a laughing stock and no one really rated, and then he came on against QPR, and then he transformed his season transformed for us, and then he's been brilliant every time he's played. But he's right, his end product can be better. He missed some absolute crucial chances for us, but then he scored some goals that he shouldn't have scored, where he's hit it straight at the keeper and the keeper's just not saved it.
It's and interesting, there's another guy who kind of at the end of the season found his place, and that was Bidwell. And it was like Bidwell found, for me, the best place for him, which is the left side at the back, isn't it, rather than left wing back. That's not his role, really. It's like the opposite of Dabo, who should never play centre back, right centre back ever again. But obviously on the right wing back is fine. But Bidwell found his place. But as Mark pointed out, we're now lacking that completely, because I wouldn't be starting Bidwell necessarily as a left wing back, because I don't really think that's his role, but certainly he can play on the left side. So that it's the left-hand side we need to look at now, Ken, isn't it? Someone who's going to fill that role, but have that spark of energy that Maatsen had.
Yeah, and it's going to be difficult to replace him, because Maatsen was a big player for us. I don't know really how he's going to do it, but it'd be interesting to see what he does. I mean, I trust Mark Robbins. Recruitment's been really good over the years, hasn't it, over the last few years? So no doubt he will have something up his sleeve. He'll have targets ready to come in, but that's definitely a position we need to be strengthened, because obviously he's going to be a big miss for us, and I think we just need to get a bit of quality in there, and I think he'll have a good few options, I think, Mark Robbins.
Yeah, I mean, one of the
goal
goal scorers as well, wasn't he, Maatson? Someone who knew where the goal was.
Yeah, he was, and he's only a young lad as well, isn't he? He's only a young lad, so he's only going to get better. And I think that's the sort of road we're going to go down again, I think. Now, whether he brings a loan in or whether he brings a permanent player in, yet to be seen. But he's got that option. He could perhaps bring a Premier League, loan player, young loan player from a Premier League team in again.
He can allow himself that, because that's one of the things I think Robin's done so well. He's brought players in, hasn't he? So Dabo is ours, Hamer is ours, Gyökeres is ours, you know what I mean? And Sheaf, because if you look at Mowbray, the problem is he relies so heavily on loans that you just don't feel they're going to last, and be bothered.
And a lot, exactly. And a lot of them loans came as a loan, and they were turned into permanent transfers in the end, weren't they?
Yeah.
Because they enjoyed playing the football we do. We play good football, and they liked the club. They got on with the manager, and they got on with the players, and they signed up permanently in the end, which is what a lot of the players have done. Not many loan players have gone back, but obviously Maddison has gone back. I can't see him. There's going to be too many big clubs coming in for him, so I can't see him re-signing, obviously, for us. But Clark Salter, we've got a chance of getting him back, so you never know.
So come on, boys. Let's, as we're looking back at the season, favourite game. This could be interesting. Obviously, we've probably all got a worst game as well, which we can look at. But certainly, favourite game. It'd be interesting to see what your takes are. Obviously, some of those games it was because of the last-minute goals, I suppose. I mean, my personal favourite has to be Bristol City at home in terms of being down to 10 men for so long. Talking to Maatson, and managing to pull it back. I think they made a lot of their own, downfall there, Bristol City. I don't know what they were playing at. They just didn't seem to want to win it almost. It was bizarre. I don't know what they were doing. They seemed to be sitting back, which was bizarre considering how they had one extra man. But loved it because obviously the last minute goal and just the whole feel of it. O'Hare scored, which was quite nice for a change. But yeah, obviously that was my personal favourite and just the feeling at the end of the match. Go on, Andy, what was yours?
Probably simple one was Fulham at home, because Fulham were the big time Charlies that everyone expected were going to walk the league. They've got this beast up front banging goals in against everybody he plays, and they were just going to sweep into the CBS and brush us aside. And I think they went 1-0 up, didn't they, in the game, and everyone was thinking, here we go. And then we just turned up. And it was on Sky as well, so it's just nice. And I think it was at that moment when a lot of other clubs and other fans sort of thought, oh, hold on a minute, there may be a bit of something about this. And I think a sort of equal favourite for me was the Southampton Cup game. Obviously the result didn't go our way, but I left that game so proud of the team and the performance that they've given. And when you go on like Twitter and look at the comments at the as I always do every week, you look at what the other fans are saying, and all of the Southampton fans with full of praise for us of how well we've done. Easy to when you've won the game ultimately, but you felt it was genuine. If we'd have actually won that game, they would have said fair play to Coventry City, and I think they were two games for me that stood out.
And that was a different one because we went to Watford a few years ago, wasn't it, when we played them in the cup, and the fans we literally just didn't stop singing. But that was the difference there. With the Watford game, you kind of sense we weren't anywhere near that level at that point, but it was fine. We had a blast. We played some good football. But the Southampton game, you just sense, actually, things are going in the right direction here, and we legitimately are playing well. And okay, they could do the bloody Man City thing of just bringing on who they wanted to try and change the game, but. I agree that was a top-notch day out. Loved it, and certainly Fulham at home was a right blast, wasn't it? What about you, Glenn?
Sentimentally, it'd be the first game back at the CBS playing Forest and winning 2-1. Purely just because, like I say, I've still got the video on my timeline and the pictures when I went the last time to the CBS, and they had a monster truck thing on, and I got tickets and went, and I walked out crying, and my wife's looking at me gone out. She said, "What are you crying for?" I was like, "Because this could be the last time I've been here, man." And I've had some absolute horrible memories here, but I've had some great memories, like we beat Stoke, obviously the playoffs, and obviously getting to Wembley and stuff like that. And it was kind of nice. And then one of my friends came with me because I had a spare ticket, and I hadn't seen him because obviously we'd all been work colleagues. We'd all been working from home and stuff, and then we just literally just scored, and then we just started hugging each other and went mad. And you'll know who I'm talking about. Obviously, for the rest of the season, it started the people that sit at the end of our row who always go before the end of the game, and they regularly miss goals. And it's become a running joke now, and it's quite funny that they always go before the end. And how many goals they've missed is never leave early. As I did once, I think it was Luton, and we lost 2-1, but we scored and we had a chance later on to make it 2-10. I would have never forgiven myself for that. But in terms of enjoying the game, I actually really enjoyed Blues away. Just for the day out, it was a couple of days before my birthday. The whole day, it was really nice. The Blues fans were actually quite sound. I sat in the Morrisons at a cafe, I was chatting to some Blues fans, and they were like, "We're crap, we're rubbish. You're playing the half decent, you'll beat us." And we're 2-0 down there, and then they just absolutely capitulated. And then Rose scored, and then they've got obviously Callum O'Hare's celebration. I've got the picture up on my wall. I've got the shades. We all went to West Brom the next week with the shades on, and it was just so good to see that spirit and fight that we showed there in the League One season, and we got a bit of back, and we'd probably just not really performed when the pressure had been on a few games. We kind of, when the pressure was off, we'd done all right, but then when we had the chance like Forest away, we kind of didn't really perform there, and we'd had a few chances in other games, and it's nice to see we had got a bit of backbone and spirit, and we kind of finished the season quite well, with except for the defeat at home to Huddersfield. We showed a bit of backbone and ground out a few results when we probably were a bit under strength, etc., and showed a bit of fight. So yeah, they were the two that probably stand out for me.
I'm glad you mentioned the Callum O'Hare thing, because I'll come to you in a minute, Ken, with your favourite game. But you watched the horrendous match last night. It just didn't really go anywhere, that England game, and it was just like, ugh. And you just sense sometimes teams lack character. You know, I always go back to Gaza, and I know I shouldn't go back to Gaza as an England fan because he was a one-off. I get that. But what I loved about that O'Hare moment, it is just, as you mentioned, the spirit, but a character has been born, you know, an icon that kids can look up to. He already had that iconic status with the headband, you know, a few seasons before. But you need that, don't you? You need that in a team that are going to get the kids thinking, yeah, I really like this. You know, I like this guy. I like what he does, and it's that iconic figure. And then you had obviously what happened at the Memorial Park as well. But it is important. And I'm glad you mentioned the Birmingham game, because moments like that stick in your head. You know.
It was almost like it went full circle, that he redeemed himself for that miss in the FA Cup tie, which is really funny, because me and my eldest were pitch side. Well, I know there's a video of a YouTuber who's got it, and I still watch it, and I still don't know how I missed it. But the funny thing was, before the game, me and my son were pitch side with the family zone, and all the Blues fans were giving him pouters, and I jokingly said to him, "I wonder what they're going to be like if you score, Callum." And I was like, and just jokingly said that, and then he missed that one, and I'm just like, how the did you miss that? I just like, my mate by me literally was up celebrating, thinking he scored. But I think it was kind of nice that he'd never scored against Blues. He was a Villa fan. He always got stick, and it was really good to see him how composed and finished it was. And you're right, he's someone that kids are always going to look up to, and like we went about earlier before we started, we had like idols like Mick Quinn. He's going to be a player that everyone connects with Coventry City, even people who probably got no knowledge of Coventry City as fans. They'll see him with Tom Grennan and go, "Oh, it's Callum O'Hare. Why Coventry in it?" And that gives us like a global appeal that we probably haven't had.
And I guarantee that's what Robbins will have been embedding in, I reckon. You know, remember, this is, I know legacy is such a cheesy word, but you are, you know, if you play the way you are, people will remember you for a long time, and they won't forget it. And unless you go to Middlesbrough and Glenn boos you, they'll always look at you with favour, and they'll look at you, you know, in a good light, you know, because we all reminisce. You know, I still feel the adrenaline rush from that Huckabee ball hitting the bottom corner, and David Speedy's 50,000 chips. You know, you just remember those moments. So it is fantastic that kids have now got that again. Ken, come on, what was your favourite game? Luton away.
I was there. Absolutely not.
God.
That's one to forget. Both the Fulham games, really, for me, home and away. One, because we hadn't played them for so long. We had never. I don't think hardly any of us have seen us play Fulham before, because it's been 50 odd years or whatever last time we played them. When it was a long time ago. I said we blew them away at home. It was on Sky, and they just couldn't cope with us in the end, could they? And then to go away and win there when we were all expecting, are they going to get us revenge? Are they going to hammer us? They're about to win the league. Everybody expected, they're going to come and hammer us in the second game. But we did it again. We just outplayed them and they just couldn't cope. I mean, we could have got more goals away from home. Really, it was unbelievable. And we just both them games against Fulham will live in my memory. That's the first time I've been to Craven Cottage as well, which was fantastic. Talking about old style grounds, that's probably one of the oldest grounds I've been to in the league. It's really old fashioned and really lovely. I know they've got a new stand there now that they've just built, but
that's
very
right,
old and traditional, if you like. And it's the first time I've ever been there. I've been to quite a few of the grounds in London, but I've never been to Fulham before, and that would certainly live with me. Both them Fulham games from last season.
They served me well as well, actually, because I'd got in my head with the song that I was going to use a Suede song, just being cheeky, because I knew Matt Osman played for Suede. So I thought if I tweet Rich Osman in the song, and of course, sure enough, it went mad. And I was like, thank God for that. But then, like you, I wasn't expecting, I kind of got my song ready for the away game, but half expecting no one's going to watch this because it's going to be a 4-0 probably. And then it happened again. Yeah. So, it's lovely. And I think Fulham, as you say, was surprised because they were probably, sensing a nice, easy victory at home that time. But it's the spirit in the club, isn't it? We've got it, which is legendary. We've had some poor games. I mean, Luton away was a shocker, but I think games like that you kind of bizarrely accept. You're going to get moments where it all just goes wrong, and you could at 4-0, you just want to throw the towel in, don't you? Say, just leave it there. It's fine. You could see their kind of heads had gone. But the key thing, and Robbins is really good at this. I can't remember a run of defeats really. We didn't have much of a run of defeats, and that's brilliant. Generally speaking, we bounce back if
we don't lose 4 or 5 on the spin very rarely. We do sometimes go and we don't win for maybe 3 or 4 games, but you're very, very rare that we lose 3 or 4 on the spin.
Yeah, we had a few consecutive draws, didn't we? But as for losses, no, we didn't really have a run of losses. We had a few draws in there where again draws where we should have won.
The Blackburn draw was funny, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Don't think their fans still like you, do they, Gareth?
I wasn't at that game, which is awful. Wasn't at that game, but I was gutted I wasn't at that game because Gyökeres came right up to where we would have been, didn't he? With his watch celebration, I was like gutted. But if he does that against us for Middlesbrough, I will.
I'll throw the bloody I'll rip the Swedish shirt I've got off and throw it at him and just go.
I want to know if he did it. I want to know if he did it tonight for Sweden because he scored in Robin's time tonight, didn't he?
Oh, did it? Was it late?
Yeah, 95th minute.
90, yeah, say 90 odd minute.
Oh, come on. Surely he did. Surely
I hope he did.
I like the fact Glenn's keeping us informed on the old score. That's brilliant.
What was the score? Was it 1-0 in the end?
They lost 3-2 to Norway.
Oh, they lost. Oh, okay.
It's an interesting one. But what I'm proud of, as I've said, is just the fact that he's brought people back in, and you can see he's going in the right direction. When we're at the awards, Body said, well, I think it seems, which is amazing, that we don't have to sell. Now, that in itself is hallelujah, to not be at a point where we feel we have to sell. The problem is, of course, if a player gets offered ridiculous money, it would be stupid not to, so there's a chance you'll lose one of the 3. And they mentioned the 3, they're not silly. They know there's 3 players that, will be looked at. I'm glad Sheaf goes under the radar because I rate him. I'm glad Hyam goes under the radar because, again, he's a proper player and it's quite nice that people don't talk about them. I just have. That was silly. But, yeah, and even just, for more in goal. To have someone who knows what they're doing in goal has been an absolute blast. You get the odd mistake. But Andy, you're a goalkeeper. You must have been pleased, and also pleased that Wilson, when he was called upon, did what he needed to do.
Probably several of us, when we went to West Brom, were slightly surprised to see him getting the nod to play in goal. But yeah, he did well. Everything in the game that you'd hope he would do, he did well, and obviously getting that penalty save right at the death, which would have been a daylight robbery, I think, had they have won that game. So, we've got 2 decent keepers at the minute. Both seem to support each other really well, which is always good. You don't want someone thinking that they are, far and away number one. I think they both work hard for each other, and it does bode well for the future that we've got those guys. So yeah,
it's really bizarre, isn't it, that we're saying? You just said it was daylight robbery if West Brom, got a win. And we were in League Two like a number of years ago, and they were in the Premier League. Yeah. It's bonkers, isn't it, to think the change that's been made.
It was only, was it 2 years since we had that Cyril Regis memorial game at the Baggies place?
Yeah, lost 5-2.
And they absolutely played us off the park. I think when we were there for that, Reece Alasani came on, and we were all thinking, he's going to be the next big thing for us. And we were so far off it. It was, and then there we are this season going there and probably being the better team, like I say, and we would have been robbed if we'd have chipped the last minute goal. But thankfully, we managed to save the penalty and nick the point.
Getting thrashed by West Brom, I still have nightmares of that Michael Misford, but let's not go there. The elbow, wasn't it? Was that West Brom?
Yeah, West Brom. Yeah, he smacked Robinson, didn't he?
And he was on fire at the point as well. He was our main man. But yeah, I generally think we don't do well against West Brom. Am I right, Glenn? We're generally not great against them.
I think we're hit and miss. I know we went there and beat them 4-2 when Miffs had scored, and then I always remember the FA Cup. Nuddy, the FA Cup tie, where Paul Cook got sent off, and Nuddy just went on one of those runs and smashed it top corner. But yeah, we're never great in local derbies, I don't think. I don't know why we haven't really been for a while.
No, and I think derbies can be like that. Like against Birmingham, it's always a bit dicey. And like you said, Derby was a bit of an odd one as well. But icons, it's really, I think, again, that's something else on this season, as I just mentioned with O'Hare, that we're finally getting those players. It's lovely because I teach around schools, primary schools in Coventry. And what I've seen, which is so good, is Cov City kits on kids. And I'm so pleased because the amount of times you see Chelsea, Man City, you know what I mean? They're wearing the kind of big 6 in the Premier League kits. And it's so good that now I think we're starting to get to a place where we can actually rise again and the kids can enjoy their football. What do you reckon? Have you got the same sense with the children in terms of, actually coming back to us again?
Yeah, I think generally there seems to be more kids in Cov shirts. Obviously, you only got to look at like the YouTube era or TikTok and stuff doing stuff like that. There's way more Cov related stuff, and even kids doing it now. So that's a positive to see, and I think there's a general enjoyment of it, and it's enjoyable. And I think a lot of the people, I always remember the story. I think there was a woman and a daughter went to Bournemouth, and we got beat 3-0. And she signed up to a season ticket like a couple of days later and lost 3-0. And I suppose the telling thing with Cov is I went away to that week. I booked a holiday, and I was like, and I was that close to coming back, trying to see if I could come back on train to book. And the wife go, why? Because we still got a chance of getting promoted.
Yeah.
And then we obviously beat Blues, and I'm like, oh bloody, why did I book that? But I think that's a nice thing because I don't think there would have been the case where I'd missed games before and it hadn't really mattered. But I think there's a general vibe, and people are looking forward to it. I've already bought my ticket to go watch us play Leamington in pre-season. I want to go see us play a game, and I think there's a general positivity. And I think even if we do lose one of the icons, there'll be another player who's there to replace, and that's the thing. And they're so good with it. Generally, the players are so good, and the staff are so good with the young kids. I remember Huddersfield game. Jody Jones literally had to get escorted in by Stewart because there were that many, and Callum O'Hare was the same because there were that many people outside trying to get autographs, pictures, signed shirts, and whatever. It was bloody ridiculous.
Yeah, because obviously your child goes, Andy, yours goes as well, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's got a season ticket. Apparently, Callum O'Hare's her husband.
Does he know?
No, he doesn't know, bless him. But she adores him. So
I loved it earlier in the season because I knew my Freya was kind of up for it when I think Godden had a pen and she just hit her head in Kel's side, and I thought, yeah, she's got the bug. She's got that. I can't watch. And then she obviously leapt up when we scored. But no, it's good to see. And from my perspective, I'm really chuffed that the kids are coming back because it's really important that they enjoy it. Because I still remember walking up the steps at Ifield Road for the first time, and beating Oxford 3-0. We were 0-0 at half time, and my uncle said, "Don't worry, we always do well shooting towards the West Terrace," and we won 3-0. It was Dave Bennett, and then of course we won the FA Cup. So I thought this is a breeze. Being a Cov fan, so easy. Hi Neil, how are you, mate? You all right? Look at Neil's shirts in the background.
Don't know much about tonight. How are you, chaps? You're right.
We're all right. Which is your favourite shirt, Neil? Come on.
It's my favourite home shirt by a country mile. The old Entertainers shirt. It's not the best to nick, but I've got it. And then I think it's actually in reply to Glenn and the guys at Sky Blues Fans TV earlier. They were talking about your favourite piece of Sky Blues memorabilia, and I've got this one. That's the first one my daughter brought me. So I'll say she brought it. The wife brought it and said it was from her. So. So yeah, that was got some sentimental value.
We've just done our favourite games. I mean, there was quite a few to choose from this season, which is quite nice. But yourself, mate, you look like you already know what your answer is. But yeah, what was yours, Neil?
You know what, mate? I'm torn. There's so many unbelievable moments, games from the season. I'm lucky. I managed to get to 42 games, I think it was this season, home and away. So I was there for I'm not bragging. I was luckily there for a lot of those must-see moments, sort of things. Bristol at home was something special, wasn't it?
Oh, that's one I said.
To be down to 10 men, behind, and then last kick of the game, nick it. And Reading was another one because at home, because I didn't think we looked in that game at all. And then we make the changes. Alan scores, and then Godden scores for the last kick of the game. And I remember my wife was going out that night, and she said to me before the game, "Do us a favour, just leave dead on 90 minutes. I know you won't leave early, but just leave dead on 90 minutes." And I was like, "All right, I will." And I remember thinking, I'm not leaving before the final whistle. It's not happening. And I got out my seat and I went down the stairs and I was stood at the top of the top of the concourse. So I thought the second the final whistle goes, I'm one of the first ones out. And then, Matty decides to ruin my plans a little bit. And the wife wants to know why it was 35 minutes later that I got through the door.
Don't. But I'm glad you said it though, because we've just been talking about kids coming to games and stuff, and this is I'm always like this because I'm a Cov City fan, I suppose, and I've always supported my home side. I just think people should genuinely support the side 100%. That they live near to, because you get to see it live, and it's just not 100%. The same watching on telly. And you've just said you've seen 42 games, and the reason you go to those games, yes, you'll have some awful ones, and you'll have some Luton moments. Andy was so looking forward to moving away. Anyway, but the whole thing is being there, smelling the pies, seeing the grass. It's all part of it. And I'm so glad, obviously we take our kids, and it's just important that they get that sense of this is what football's about. It's not about FIFA. It's not watching it on telly. It's actually being there. And only when you get the loss do you enjoy the highs, and that's why we're enjoying, Neil, the moment you just mentioned, Reading and 100%. Bristol City, because we've been there during the Worcester Cities at home,
Everyone on this call has been there from the top to the bottom and back up again, and I consider us to be the lucky ones. And that sounds daft saying that. I touched on that shirt behind me from the Entertainers. I was there for Robbie Keane's debut. I've seen Hadji, I've seen Chipper, seen McAllister, seen Dublin, Huckabee, seen all these amazing players. And then I was there in League Two and I had to Google who our signings were because I'd never heard of them. and that's with all due respect to Peter Vincenti,
Josh Barrett,
Jordan Gordon, 100%. And these guys are part of the fabric of Coventry City. That League Two win inside, unbelievable. But I remember we signed Jack Graham. I love Jack and everything he did, loved him. No idea who he was when we signed him.
No,
and that's another one. You've got to Google it and see who it is. And I feel for especially the guys in their late teens that you see at games that all they've known is League One, League Two, and this is the pinnacle for them. What's great to see is to see that their persistence has paid off a little bit, and they're starting to see good football again, and they're starting to see, I don't want to say the glory years, but for the last 25
it
years,
will
it
happen.
is the glory years.
It will happen, and it's funny, isn't it? Because I think of my favourite game of all time, and obviously I can easily say you know, Man U at home and Arsenal at home. You know, obviously when Keane, the entertainers year, but it has to be for me, and I've said this to Andy, Notts County away, and that, if you think about it, that's a League Two game. That was a League Two match, but because just the adrenaline rush, and it just goes to show, if you do support your local side, even in League Two, you can still have those moments that just fill you with such adrenaline. And that Notts County away, I will never forget, because just the buzz of it for the whole night, you know, the singing, the Michael Doyle song that will probably never escape my head. And it is important that kids recognise that. And you said persistence, that's really good, because actually Robins has needed that. He's needed that support from the fans all the way through. Glenn, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think I was actually on about favourite games, and I said Notts County. The only comparison I've got to Notts County away is staying up at White Hart Lane, and the only argument that Notts County away tops it was because I was there with my dad and I was there with my eldest, and then I had a couple of my mates were there as well, and that probably just made it slightly more special than it did at White Hart Lane, because kind of White Hart Lane, I got used to escaping. I kind of got a bit blasé about it that we would. I remember we lost to Derby. We walked out with 2-1 down, and I walked out with mates and said, "Got already got tickets for Spurs away." And it's like, you know what? It'll be just like us to win there and stay up. And because I got and you got a bit blasé. I was talking to a guy who'd done a book on the Premier League era, and I was like, you probably don't appreciate what we had and how many years we were there until you've lost it. Like I said, my eldest Ben never got to see us play a Premier League team until we played Stoke. And now he's seen us play Stoke, he's seen us go to Brighton, and obviously he's been to Watford, and then he went to Southampton. And we've gradually got a little bit better every time we've played. But I was used to that. I took it for granted that we'd see Letizia there season in, season out, and we'd play Blackburn and whatever. And I say Blackburn was a Premier League game regularly for us, and now it's a Championship game, and you kind of get a bit blasé about it, and you don't really probably appreciate it till you've got done at home by Forest Green or Drew and Morecambe. You know what I mean? And you're like, well, yeah.
And the guy running on the pitch. Oh,
yeah, the guy.
Anyway.
Yeah. He's probably still banned on it. But yeah, you don't appreciate what you've had till it's gone, and obviously since COVID and whatever, you do really miss it. And the one thing I want is I'd love us to have a proper promotion party. I don't care when it happens. I just want to have that, because we never got to do that. And that's the one thing really. It's probably on the bucket list, or get back to Wembley in the FA Cup final, which is probably never going to happen in my lifetime unless something miraculous happens. But I've pretty much got to do more in the last 10 years with my eldest than I did in the previous 20 years watching Cov.
Now, you've brought us on to a point here, and Ken, you can crack us off here, because if that happened, and it looked like it could this season, and it has for Forest, fair play to them. They did really, really well. I've done a video recently on the problem with the Premier League now, just being not competitive at all. Our league is insanely competitive, and that's what I love about it. Body has already said, he's mentioned the fact that at the moment, going up to the Premier League is almost pointless, because unless you get a massive investment, you're not going to be able to compete. And I'll start with you, Ken, because what are people's opinion on when you go up there? What are we doing? Are we just looking to survive? Are we looking at actually, trying to force our way further up? Do we want to waste loads of money and know that we'll plummet back down? Or are we there, as we've already pointed out, to at least have those moments? The Man U wins at home, the Chelsea wins. Is that what the magic is? Or should we be a league at the top of our English table that is competitive for everyone? What do you reckon, Ken?
Well, I think as we stand at the moment, there's a lot of money in the Premier League, isn't there? Your Manchester Cities and your Liverpools, and them sort of clubs, and Chelsea. So it's going to be very hard to go up and compete with them. So if we did go up, which would be fantastic, and it'd be great for all the youngsters to see us play in the Premier League, we just got to look to stay there, basically. Do a Burnley, if you like. I mean, look at Burnley. They're sort of traded above water, didn't they, for quite a few years? They've gone down now. but they've been in the Premier League and they've stayed there for quite a while. And I don't think they're any particularly bigger the club than we are. We're probably on a par with them, really, maybe bigger, supporter-wise. So there's no reason why we can't go up and survive if we get the finances right. But whether we compete to win the Premier League is another matter, because that's another ball game. I think there's like a little league of its own, if you like, in the Premier League, where you got your top 4 or 5 clubs who've got all the money, if you like, and then you've got the rest, isn't it? And you're just hoping maybe you get a bit of luck and you might finish in the top half of the table. But there's two divisions in the Premier League for me. There's the ones with the money, the top 4, top 5, and then the rest who are just.
And this is the shame. And I suppose it's because I think back, don't I? I think back to when the Premier League started, and we were actually, I don't know if you remember, we were up with Norwich, weren't we, fighting for it for a bit. And in fact, Norwich stayed up there, didn't they, and got into Europe. And that's the frustration, knowing that actually in the past we have been there and we have actually been able, at least, to try and be up there. But you couldn't even, like you've pointed out, you couldn't even imagine it. Not for 1 second of Fulham thinking, let's try and get up there. As you've just mentioned, Bournemouth, 17th. That's what they'll want. What do you reckon,
and
Neil?
they want to survive.
Well, do you know what? I couldn't agree more. I've got this reputation recently of being a little bit negative, and I don't know why. But genuinely, I want us to go up anytime soon. I don't think we're ready. I think because you're right. I think the level of football up there, it's 2 leagues. You're fighting for your points offsides round you, and don't get me wrong. Experience-wise, moments-wise, and Liverpool away, brilliant. Chelsea away, wicked. Tottenham away, can't wait for it. But we're not going to be competitive. It's going to take so much of an investment to get there. Well, I don't think we've got the infrastructure as a club at the minute to be there and survive there. So I'm happy to keep building. If you look at the likes of Southampton, when they went down to League One and slowly worked their way back up, it was a slow build for a little bit, and they've been in a position where they've been able to stay up there. I want us to be that sort of club, so that when we finally get back to the Premier League, we are there to stay, and we're at. Yeah. Do you know what? And I'll happily take it if we get back up there between 9th and 15th every season. That'll do me. But for the next 5-6 years, I'm happy to be a nearly playoff side in the Championship, considering where we've been for the last 10-15 years.
Yeah, and Andy, that's the thing. The games in the Championship have been great fun. And we got the double over the champions, which you couldn't do in the Premier League. So that's kind of one way of looking at it, isn't it? Is stick around here for a while.
Yeah, and I do kind of agree with what Neil's saying there, that if we go up, it's probably before we're ready. But by the same token, if we go up, we are ready, because we've gone up. We've got a good enough side. We've played Southampton off the park for large periods of the game. We are holding our own. We've beat Fulham, who have been promoted. We've beat them both games and beat them well. Whether we can do it week in, week out, it is a competitive league. I'll give you that. I think we're not going to go up there and blow stupid money. I think Robbins is far too wise to do that, and I don't think he'd be given that sort of money. I think it would be a Robbins performance if we did go up there. It would try and be on a solid footing, getting a couple of younger players, and look to consolidate in that league. And like you say, if we finish one place outside that relegation zone, happy days. If we were to go up sort of ahead of where we want to be and come back down, you come down with a big pot of money to go again. The vital thing for me, sort of this season, slightly on that, is the fans in the stadium. If we start poorly and we go back to the old fans on the back and all the rest of it, then it can very quickly become a bad season for us, which could derail the push to get up the league. If we start like we did this season and the fans jump on board and back the team like we have seen this year, then I think we're still within a great shout. And if we go up, then we are ready. Sorry, Neil.
Glenn,
I agree, Andy. The one thing I will say, sorry, Gareth, there is I get the financial element going up, coming back down, having the pot, the financial benefits that go with it, which looks like Norwich and Watford have done for the last couple of years, just to try and keep themselves on a steady foot. But again, I worry. We start poor,
and the fans turn and it gets a bit toxic. What you need is kind of what we've got. I mentioned infrastructure. When you look at the staffing and the people involved with the club, Dave Boddy, Mark Robbins, they're all vocal enough and honest enough with us as fans that I reckon if we did get promoted this year, Robbins and Boddy would have come out and said, do not expect anything from us next year. And they would have tried to manage those expectations as much as possible so that, do you know what? Yeah, do you know what? We'll go to Liverpool. We know we're going to get stuff 6-0, but let's have a bloody good time doing it. Whereas I think how we've been set up in the past, if we would have gone up, it would have turned toxic. It would have got horrible. And then I wouldn't have put it past us doing exactly the same as what's happened where we've gone down and down again.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Glenn, you mentioned White Hart Lane and you said you sensed we were always going to stay up that day. And that's the thing with Coventry's character, as Neil's just pointed out. If we did go up, you kind of sense we could, with the fact that we've actually got that kind of momentum going our way. Obviously not going to the top half of the league, I don't mean that, but actually sustain our place.
Yeah, I think you can never pick an opportunity, can you? Like Leicester had the opportunity to win the league. If they hadn't taken it, they would have never got probably another opportunity. And I think you can't pick and choose when you want to go up. But I think we wouldn't make the mistakes that like Watford and Fulham have made. Fulham have been poorly management-wise, really. And if they start badly, Silva will be out on his ear, and they'll be getting someone else in on the managerial merry-go-round, which doesn't give them any stability at all. Watford are a car crash when they go up with the managers. They've really probably got they spend too much on overseas players rather than buying British. Fulham made that same mistake. I think at least maybe Bournemouth and Norwich, well, probably Bournemouth, they'll probably buy English and they'll utilise loans and stuff. And I think we would probably be sensible and take a leaf out of Brentford's model. They built it slowly. They missed out on the playoff final a couple of years back. Obviously, then they got up last year. They've recruited well. They've got a few players you wouldn't expect them to get, Ericsson being one, and they've transformed it. And they're a solid team. And you look at them now and think they're probably not going to be anywhere near the bottom.
No, that's true.
Bottom three, really. It's probably going to be three worst teams. But yeah, I think it's hard. And even the thing is, even if you get a mega millionaire take Cov over, there's that many other clubs with mega millionaires. Where are you going to go? Look how much money Wolves and Leicester have got. Yeah. And they're never gonna probably get in the Champions League, realistically, unless something really badly happens with one of the top four. And they're going to struggle to get into Europe. And look how much Everton has spent, and they nearly got relegated.
And Everton, it was a bit of a car crash. And Burnley themselves, it's a worry, isn't it now? Because haven't they got a massive debt they've got to pay? And it sounded like they needed to stay up till at least 2024.
They've let 14 players go. I mean, I know a few of them are youngsters. 14 players. I think they've got another 2 first-teamers out of contract. They're still faffing about getting company in. Is he really good enough at championship level? They're going to probably rely a lot on Man City players. You look at Watford, they've got the Forest Green manager. He could be a car crash. It could be the most wide and open championship in years, because you've got like Bristol City. They've gone and signed 3 really good players for nothing. You've got Luton, who'll be up there. Huddersfield, they reckon they're going to get some good signings in. Sheffield United are going to strengthen. It could be really competitive next year, which could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing, because
let's not do a Barnsley.
That's the thing. If you start badly, you're gonna struggle. I don't think we'll do a Barnsley. I'll be very surprised next season, because I think Barnsley lost too much and really had a poor, totally different scenario to us. I think we're quite sensible. I think even if we lost Vic, Hamer and O'Hare, I would still have confidence that we'd go and get proven players in to give us enough. We probably would go like a Swansea and be like mid to lower table, and then come back the season after. But it's. I think there's I don't think it'll be there won't be a team who runs away with the championship with like 100 points this year, like Fulham did. I think it'll be way closer. It'll probably be 80 80 to 85 points will get you the title and probably get you promoted, because I think there'll be that many teams will take points off each other, and the schedule's that busy that it's really gonna be survival of the fittest.
Yeah, which hopefully will be us. And I think you're right. The Championship is proving itself to be almost the place to be, really, because you do feel if you go to the Premier League, you've got the star games, and we do love the star games. Hopefully, we'll get one in the FA Cup again. That would be good. But the only thing the Championship's missing now is a Panini sticker album. So hopefully, who knows? You know what I mean? That will show that we've made it. But it's now a league. It's a league people enjoy being a part of, and Forest will be so chuffed to be out of it, of course. But they're gonna have a tricky time next season, I'm sure. But as you just pointed out, the key thing is to try and sustain it. And you're right, Glenn. Brentford did well. Brentford actually have created something out of their first time in the league. So, Andy, you're happy in the Championship, aren't you, Andy? Yeah, for now. But you think we could go up?
It's the minimum you want is the Championship, and we're happy there. But what are you playing football for? You play football to go up through the pyramid and to play the highest level you can. So I'm not one of these fans that will say, I'm happy to just always stay in here. I always want to get back to. I want to let my daughter go up with my daughter and let her watch what I watched when I was 15, 14. And watch those big games and have that.
I don't think Mickey Quinn would come back now, but you never know. No, it's been good. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. It's been a pleasure. We will have to do it again, definitely. And obviously we'll have to meet again in the season, because that would be really good to meet and see how the season's going. I suppose we should say, just to finish, predictions are always rubbish, aren't they? Why do we predict things? I don't know. But any predictions for next season? I'll go last. Andy, do you want to predict?
Go on then. I will go. We're going to finish in the top 6.
Oh, there you go. There's a brave start. Ken, what do you reckon, mate? He's pondering. He's thinking. He's thinking hard. You can hear the cogs whirring. I'll come back to Ken in a minute. Neil, go on.
I'm not as ambitious as Andy. Touching on what Glenn said, I think it will be a very competitive league. Like you said, I don't think anyone's going to run away with it. I think if anyone is, it'll probably be Norwich or Sheffield United. And then it's 10 clubs that could potentially get the next 4 spots. So I'd take top 12, and I think top 10. As long as we've got progression. We've progressed the last few years.
Yep.
Any progression on what we've got this year. But I'm going to say top 10.
Go on, Glenn. You agreeing with that?
I'd love it if we got top 2. I honestly don't think any of the 3 relegated sides will finish in the top 2.
Okay.
I think it'll be. I think Middlesbrough or Sheffield United will be up there. I would be happy with top 10 and probably a cup run on it. I think your main aim is to get to 50 points and make sure we're safe. I know that's negative, but with the schedule that it is, I think it could be quite easy to go on a bad downward spiral, and you don't want to be going into the break for the World Cup in the bottom 3 or near the bottom and playing catch up, because then it's going to play on people's minds for a bit. But yeah, I'd love automatic just because I want to see us go up and celebrate it, the CBS. I think top 10, anything in playoffs. But if it's playoffs, it'll be a last day job, because it'll be a scramble with 3 or 4 teams, I think, for one spot again.
Glenn's already got that party going, haven't you? You're ready. Glenn's ready for the party.
Well, we want a proper party. We don't want a virtual promotion party. We don't want that. We don't want that fiasco again.
That doesn't work. Does
I
it really?
JD will be too enamoured when we're saying that. But yeah, I don't want to. I think we just kind of. It'd be nice to do that. I want a proper celebration.
You don't want Liam Kelly going to find some meat in his house?
Or Jody Jones, or some.
Was it Jody Jones' next door neighbour chucking toilet roll over the fence to him or something?
I mean, now that's an after show party. Ken, are you there? Ken, are you still there, mate?
Yeah, I'm still
What do you
here,
reckon?
mate,
What do you reckon next season? Come on, Ken.
I'll be happy with the top 6 finish. I'll be more than happy with top 6. I think there's no reason why we can't do that. If Robins, keeps hold of the players and gets the right players in for next season, I have every confidence in him. and I think we can just go from strength to strength. And I think I've got a funny feeling we'll be top 6.
Let's be honest. If we're being totally honest this season, we probably should have been, shouldn't we? If you think about the fact that we created so many chances in every game, and in fact, so many managers said Cov were the better side. And it wasn't just Cov were the better side holding possession. We were actually the better side and created God knows how many chances on goal. So strictly speaking, if we'd have put our chances away, we should have been top 6. I agree with you, Ken. I'd love top 6. I'm gonna side in between. So I reckon progression. I know it's such a sitting on the top 8 finish, because at least it's progression, isn't it? And also I'll hopefully still get some views on my songs. I mean, that's all it's about.
Are you doing them then, Gareth?
Are you doing them next season then? That's $1 million question.
At the Academy Awards, I'm at the Oscars. At the awards, people were saying you are doing it again, and I was like, no, I had no intention. It was like that one season, but I'll have to think. The problem is my Mac has died. It literally died pretty much the day after the season review. So it was obviously telling me something.
Get a GoFundMe going.
I'm going to get. I mean, hopefully Dave Body will pay for it, but I've got to get a new iMac, and then I will decide what to do. I mean, I loved doing it last season. It was a great buzz. I actually enjoyed it, but obviously it takes a long time to get all the songs sorted. But
start planning on, mate. You've got you know every single side that's going to be there. You know what's going to be happening. You've got a rough idea. Start planning now. I'll start the crowdfunding. I don't care. I know what it is, Gareth. You're just scared of second album syndrome. That's all.
Exactly.
Second season.
I've kind of already written 5 though. 50 songs. But second album syndrome. That's the problem, isn't it? But no, it was a good blast, and we'll see. I'm not sure. I'll start with the Leamington game, Glenn, that you're at, and we'll.
I can't wait. I've got my tickets. Can't wait just to get to a football game.
I know. Yeah. It's next month.
It is, soon comes round.
It's mad because we actually start in July, don't we, this year?
30th, July. Fixtures are out in 11 days' time or something like that. No, we've got.
I've got the calendar behind me. I've wrote it on the calendar. Fixture release day.
So Neil, is that when you're suggesting I start writing the songs as soon as I see the fixtures?
Mate, fixture release day. You've got the order. So you can start, you can start planning. Yeah, there'll be a couple of.
You've even got a mid-season break. You get a break this time, Gareth.
No, because I'm probably like World Cup ones.
Christmas off.
The problem is if ever I pre-planned one, it went pear-shaped. So I kind of thought, I can't pre-plan too much because it just doesn't go the way you want it to, does it? I'm pretty sure I pre-planned an easy win away at Luton. That didn't work.
Cheers, man.
Not mentioning Luton away.
I don't know about you, Andy, but the second someone says that out word, I get a shiver down my spine.
He does it on purpose because he knows how it gets me.
We've all got. Well, it's just the fact that literally a few weeks before, he's like, I'm going to Luton. Come on. Can't wait.
Or one of the lucky 1,000 that got my tickets. Can't wait. I remember being stood there, and I had Martin Coleman in front of me. It's the first time I met Martin, who does the kit frames. It was great to meet him and having a chat. And within 15 minutes, he said, "I never want to meet you at a football game ever again." I was like, "Cheers, mate. Thanks very much." I
just bought that pink and blue half and half away shirt, and that was the first game that I've never wore that shirt to a game since. It's been put in the cupboard, and it will never see the light of day again.
I wore a hat that day. I don't know why. I wore a baseball cap. I've never wear caps. Don't know why. I wore a cap that day, and on the way back to the car, I binned it. I was like, I'm never wearing a hat to a game again. Just.
We'll end on a positive. We think things are on the up, so that's the good thing, and they certainly have been on the up since League Two. So we've just got to be enjoying it. We've got to enjoy the ride, keep enjoying the ride as much as we can. I'll decide whether to sing songs on the ride or just watch games with Glenn and see when he pounces on me when Tavares gets another one.
Tavares is the top league scorer. Yeah.
But it's been a blast, guys. Thank you for joining me tonight, and we will do it again very soon.
Thank you.
Cheers, Gareth.
No problem. Thank you.